When you worry, you are living in tomorrow. But tomorrow has never arrived. It only exists in your imagination. Worrying is a form of self-punishment. You rehearse problems that may never come. You drain the strength you already have today. Life begins to work the moment you stop worrying, because then your energy is no longer scattered. It is here. It is now. The seed grows not because it worries about the rain. The river flows not because it worries about rocks. They simply follow their path, and so should you. Understand this: worrying will not prevent the storm. It will only prevent you from dancing in the rain. Let go of the weight you are carrying. When the mind becomes light, life itself becomes lighter. And in this lightness, things begin to align. That is when life starts working. Not when you control everything, but when you stop worrying and trust the flow. When we observe the nature of worry, we begin to see that it does not exist in the present moment. Worry is a thought pattern, a projection of the mind, pulling us forward into events that have not yet occurred. It paints pictures of possibilities, of outcomes that are uncertain, of fears that are imagined but not yet real. And because the mind clings to those images, the body reacts as if they are already here. Your heart beats faster, your breath shortens, the nervous system prepares for danger. Yet when you look around, you see that nothing is happening except inside your mind. This is the strange paradox of worry. It creates suffering out of what has not even arrived. You are paying the price of pain for something you may never experience. To understand this more clearly, imagine a traveler walking on a road. The sun is shining, the path is open, and the air is clear. But in his imagination, he sees dark clouds ahead. He imagines storms. He imagines wild animals waiting for him. He begins to walk slower, his shoulders heavy, his steps hesitant. The journey is no longer free and light, not because the path is truly dangerous, but because his imagination has burdened him. This is how worry works. It is not the actual situation that weighs us down, it is the imagined one. And when you live too long in imagined futures, the present moment becomes invisible to you. You no longer see the sunshine, the open road, the fresh air. You only see the storm that has not yet come. The great mistake is to think that by worrying you are preparing. Many people believe that replaying possible outcomes in the mind is a form of readiness. But readiness comes from clarity, not from chaos. Readiness comes from stillness, not from fear. Worry scatters the mind in 10 directions, creating noise instead of focus. When you worry, you are not actually solving. You are postponing peace. You rehearse scenarios that may never need to be rehearsed. In doing so, you sacrifice the strength you could have used in this very moment. Imagine a warrior who spends all his energy swinging his sword in the air against invisible enemies. When the true battle arrives, he will be exhausted before the fight begins. Worry is that invisible battle, draining you before reality even calls for your attention. Therefore, one of the deepest practices is to bring yourself back from the imagined future into the undeniable present. This requires awareness, because the mind will try to wander forward again and again, but each time you notice, you gently return. This is why meditation, breathing, and mindful practices are not luxuries, but necessities for the human spirit. They anchor you. They remind you that this breath, this step, this heartbeat is real, while the future is still a dream. By returning again and again to the now, you weaken the grip of worry. Slowly, you begin to see that there is no reason to suffer from what has not yet happened. The present moment is not lacking. The present moment is not unbearable. The present moment is enough. And if you can fully live in it, you discover a hidden strength that is always available but hidden behind the fog of imagined fears. When you look closely at the nature of worry, you will notice how it slowly drains you. Energy is life. Every thought, every breath, every action requires energy. But worry is a silent thief. It consumes your energy without creating anything in return. It does not build. It does not heal. It does not nourish. Instead, it circles endlessly inside the mind, like a bird trapped in a cage, flapping its wings without direction. This inner turbulence wears you down. You feel tired, even though you have not moved. You feel heavy, even though you carry nothing in your hands. This is the invisible burden of worry. It takes the fuel that could power your growth and burns it into smoke. Think of how the body responds when the mind is lost in worry. The heart begins to race, as though danger is near. Muscles tighten, as though preparing to defend. The breath shortens, as though the body is running. Yet you are sitting in a chair, lying in a bed, standing in a safe room. The body cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. It reacts to what the mind projects. Day after day, this silent battle depletes your strength. People wonder why they feel exhausted even when nothing happened that day. It is because they have fought invisible wars in their minds. Worry makes you live through struggles twice, once in imagination, and once in reality. And often, reality never even brings the storm you feared. This waste of energy is dangerous, because energy is not infinite. What you spend on worry cannot be used for creation, for love, for discipline or for growth. Imagine a gardener who pours water not on the plants, but on the dry sand outside the garden walls. He waters and waters, yet nothing grows. In the same way, worry pours your life force into the soil of fear, where nothing blossoms. And when the time comes to face real challenges, you arrive with an empty cup. You are too tired to act wisely, too drained to move with clarity. Worry has already stolen the energy you could have used to transform the situation. This is why so many people remain stuck in cycles. They are exhausted not from life itself, but from the energy they continually waste on imagined problems. To overcome this, you must learn to direct your energy with intention. Awareness is the first step. Notice when the mind is wasting energy on what is not real, then bring it back to the present task. Breath becomes a powerful ally here. Each conscious breath is a way of reclaiming your scattered energy. Instead of letting it leak into future fears, you gather it, center it, and use it for what is in front of you. The body begins to relax, the mind regains clarity, and suddenly you see energy was never missing, it was only misplaced. When you stop wasting it on worry, you find that you have the strength, the focus, and the resilience to move forward. Life starts to work not because problems vanish, but because your energy is no longer being consumed by shadows. When you look at the natural world, you will notice something profound. Nothing in nature worries. The tree does not spend its nights wondering if the sun will rise tomorrow. The river does not hesitate, calculating whether it will meet the ocean. The seasons do not argue about when to arrive. Spring does not question if it will have enough flowers. Winter does not fear that snow will not fall. Everything in nature flows in harmony with its own rhythm. There is no hesitation, no mental resistance, no unnecessary struggle. And because of this effortless acceptance, nature is never in conflict with itself. The tree simply grows. The river simply flows. The sun simply shines. In this there is a lesson for us. Life works best not when we constantly question and resist, but when we trust the natural unfolding of events. Consider the life of a seed. Once placed into the soil, the seed does not sit in fear, doubting whether it will ever break the surface. It does not compare itself with the tree beside it, nor does it torment itself with thoughts of failure. Instead, it quietly absorbs what is given: water, warmth, and time. And in this quiet trust, it finds the strength to push upward and become a sprout. In the same way, rivers do not stop flowing because rocks appear in their path. They do not worry about obstacles. They simply adjust, carving new directions, flowing around, or even over what stands in their way. Nature teaches us resilience without tension. It shows us that life continues to move forward, not by worrying about obstacles, but by adapting to them in silence. This natural wisdom contrasts deeply with the human condition. We, unlike trees and rivers, often sabotage our own growth by worrying. We worry if our efforts will succeed, if others will approve, if we will have enough. And so instead of absorbing the nourishment of the present moment, we poison it with doubt. Instead of flowing with life's obstacles, we freeze in fear, rehearsing countless scenarios that may never occur. This is the tragedy of worry. It takes us out of alignment with the natural order, where everything has its timing and place. The seed does not bloom overnight, yet it never doubts its unfolding. Only the human being doubts, and in doubting, we create resistance that slows down our own journey. To live in harmony with nature means to return to this state of trust. It means learning to observe the seasons of our life with patience. There is a time to act, a time to rest, a time to harvest, a time to sow. If we allow life to move in its rhythm, we discover that much of what we feared resolves itself without our interference. Just as spring arrives without being forced, clarity arrives when the mind is no longer clouded by worry. When you stand by a river and watch it flow, you are reminded that life does not need constant control. The more you let go of worry, the more you discover that, like nature, you too have an inner intelligence guiding you forward. Trust this flow, and life begins to reveal its own timing. No matter how much you worry, storms will still come. This is the reality of life. Seasons will change, challenges will appear, and difficulties will test you. Worry gives you the illusion of control, but it does not hold back the clouds, nor does it silence the thunder. A person may lie awake at night, fearing the loss of a job, the illness of a loved one, or the uncertainty of tomorrow. But that sleepless night does not change the outcome. It only weakens the body and exhausts the mind, making it even harder to face the storm when it finally arrives. Worrying about what you cannot change is like trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. You grow tired, but the tide still comes in. Think of sailors at sea. They do not waste time worrying about whether storms will appear. They know storms are a part of the ocean. Instead of worrying, they prepare their sails, strengthen their ships, and sharpen their skills. When the storm comes, they adjust and endure. It is not worry that saves them, but readiness. This is where the distinction lies. Preparation strengthens you, but worry weakens you. Preparation is active and grounded in the present. Worry is passive and trapped in the future. One builds resilience, the other consumes it. When you recognize this difference, you begin to understand that storms are not meant to be feared, but to be met with clarity and strength. Worry not only fails to stop storms, it blinds you to the opportunities within them. Many times in life, storms bring renewal. Rain nourishes the soil, clears the air, and gives birth to new growth. Yet if you spend all your energy worrying, you will only see destruction and never notice the hidden blessings. In the same way, personal challenges often carry lessons that can transform you, but worry makes you resist, and in resisting you miss the wisdom within the hardship. Imagine a student so worried about failing an exam that he cannot concentrate on studying. His worry becomes the very reason for his failure. Life works in the same way. The energy you pour into fear could have been the very energy to help you rise. This is why the practice is not to eliminate storms, but to eliminate worry about them. The storm will come, but you can remain steady. You cannot control the winds, but you can adjust your sails. You cannot stop the rain, but you can choose how to walk through it. This shift in perspective gives you freedom. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, you move with strength and flexibility. Instead of wasting energy fighting what you cannot stop, you use your energy to grow, to adapt, and to endure. The truth is simple. Storms are inevitable, but worry is optional. And when you drop worry, you discover that even the fiercest storm cannot break the one who remains calm within it. Tension is the state of a mind that is constantly pulling in many directions. It is like a rope stretched too tightly, fragile, ready to snap at the slightest pressure. When you live in tension, your body feels restless, your thoughts become scattered, and your spirit feels heavy. This is the condition many people live in today, always rushing, always planning, always trying to control what cannot be controlled. Yet in this restlessness, clarity disappears, decisions become clouded, actions lose their precision, and joy slips away. Stillness, on the other hand, is the opposite of tension. It is not inactivity, but alignment. In stillness, you are calm, grounded, and present, and from this inner calm, life begins to function in harmony. Think of a lake. When its surface is disturbed with ripples, you cannot see clearly into its depths. But when the water becomes still, everything beneath is revealed. The same is true for the human mind. When you live in constant tension, you cannot see clearly. You are reacting instead of responding, guessing instead of knowing. But when the mind becomes still, insight arises naturally. Ideas come without being forced, solutions appear without strain, and direction reveals itself without confusion. This is why many great teachings emphasize meditation, silence, and breathing, not because stillness is an escape from life, but because stillness allows life to reveal its truth. In tension, you try to force life into your own design. You push against circumstances, resist reality, and struggle with what is. But in stillness, you realize that life already has a rhythm, and you do not need to fight it. Flowers do not force themselves to bloom. Rivers do not force themselves to flow. They simply exist in their natural timing. In the same way, when you drop tension, you discover that many things begin to align on their own. Relationships heal, decisions become easy, opportunities arise, not because you controlled them, but because you created the inner space for them to unfold. Stillness is not weakness, it is a higher kind of strength, a strength that comes from allowing rather than resisting. To cultivate stillness is to reclaim your power. It means you no longer waste your energy fighting storms that cannot be stopped, nor imagining futures that may never come. Instead, you gather your energy into the present moment, where it can actually be used. A mind at rest is sharper than a mind in tension. A body that is calm is stronger than a body that is restless. A spirit that is still can see paths that tension makes invisible. This is the paradox. By doing less inwardly, you accomplish more outwardly. Life works not when you are frantic, but when you are steady, not when you are tense, but when you are still. And in this stillness, you discover that the world is not against you, it is moving with you, if only you have the clarity to flow with it. So when you understand this, you begin to see worry has never served you, it has only stolen from you your energy, your clarity, your peace. Worry lives in the future, but life is only here, now. Worry drains your strength, but stillness restores it. Worry resists the flow of nature, but trust allows it to guide you. Worry cannot stop storms, but presence prepares you to walk through them. And most of all, worry thrives in tension, but life begins to work in stillness. The way forward is not to control everything, but to release the need to control. It is not to eliminate storms, but to stand steady when they arrive. It is not to force life into your design, but to trust the rhythm that has always been there. When you stop worrying, you no longer waste your energy on shadows. You begin to see clearly. You begin to act wisely. And this is when life starts to work, not against you, but with you. So the invitation is simple. Lay down the weight of unnecessary fear. Return again and again to the present moment, for it is the only place where life exists. Trust the intelligence of nature. Trust the strength within you, and trust the rhythm of life. Then you will discover that peace is not waiting in the future. After all your problems disappear, peace is already here, revealed the moment you stop worrying.